My name is Kenzie Thorpe, your host, and this is Show Me Ruttin Podcast. On this episode, we talk about the past weekend's activities, which included the opening weekend of the 2018 archery season here in Missouri, and we have our very first special guest, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Show Me Ruttin podcast. I hope you liked the first episode, got a little insight about me, and you'll continue to learn tidbits about me as this podcast goes on. But what we're going to talk about today is what happened last weekend. This past weekend was not only the season opener here in Missouri, but it was also the Apple Jubilee, which is a local festival that I've gone to since I was able to go. I grew up at that Waverly Apple Jubilee. I can remember nights staying there until it closed down. I can remember playing games once it was even closed because mom and dad were in the beer gardens. I mean, the Waverly Apple Jubilee has been a part of my life since I was able to go. So that was this weekend. It was awesome. It was hot. But again, you saw faces that you don't used to see all the time, which was nice. And you know, we sold some apparel, had a raffle for a game camera, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who stopped by, said hello, who bought some apparel, and again, who entered the raffle. Congratulations to Mitch Baldwin for winning. We'll have another one next year for whoever didn't win this year. But again, just want to say thank you to anybody who stopped by, said hey, got something. Couldn't be here without you guys. Also, again, a little bit bigger here in the hunting industry. It's opening weekend for the Missouri archery season this past Saturday. And yes, I went, even though it was hot and humid and it just was miserable. The mosquitoes were bad. But Saturday morning, saw 4 deer, had a mom and some fawns within shooting distance. But, you know, I'm not for shooting yearlings, period. And I'm not for shooting does that still have the yearlings with them. I'd like to have them get weaned off naturally just so they have a better chance of surviving. That's the deer population that's going to survive and keep the, deer where I'm hunting. So that was a rule of mine. That's a rule of ours. She survived this time. Saturday night, Sunday morning, didn't see anything, but was out there. Again, it just was kind of miserable, but again, it's opening weekend. You got to get out there. You got to see what happens because you're not going to see nothing if you're sitting on the couch. What this weekend also did for us was give us an idea of where we are. We may have thought we were somewhat prepared, but we really aren't. You also got to make sure that all the equipment's good to go. Cameras, stands, bags, scent covers, all this stuff that we deal with on a daily basis when it comes hunting season and in the off season. The first weekend really opened your eyes to see how prepared you really are. Even though you may have thought you were prepared, you really aren't. So, with that said, not much happened this past weekend. That's our update as to what we're up to. This week looks like it's going to be pretty hot. Maybe next weekend we'll have a better chance at getting an animal on the ground, but this week doesn't look good for the weather anyway. And now, our special guest, which has been a friend of mine since college. We played intramurals together. He played college football. I played college baseball. We just kind of happened to meet each other in college because of a mutual attraction to sports competitiveness. And since then, we've always kept in touch. And now Michael Attebery is doing big things. He's out in California, the state. And here's our interview from this week. On this episode of Show Me Ruttin podcast, we've got Michael Attebery, a longtime friend of mine that I met in college. He's on here. How are you, sir?
What's going on, buddy? I'm good.
Another day, another dollar, right?
Yeah, I actually just got off work, so
yeah. How was that?
This is a lot better than work.
Yeah, I could do this over work every day, probably.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I get people messaging me. They're like, "How do you figure out how to hunt and film for a living?" I'm like, I have no clue. So as soon as you figure it out, let me know.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand is that the people who do hunt and film for a living have money to begin with. Like it costs money to do what they do. It isn't like they do it and get paid.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah. So tell the listeners, who Michael Attebery is, where you're from, where you're at, what you're up to.
Yeah, this is my least favorite part. Like I said, talking about myself. So no, so I identify as a bow hunter, clearly, a photographer. I do some outdoor film with the Infinity Outdoors, and also run my own company, so do some of that stuff for Built to Hunt as well. I grew up kind of where you guys are from, out there. I'm from Odessa, Missouri. Grew up loving the outdoors, playing outside as a kid. Love sports, played football, basketball, baseball, pretty much since from kindergarten to college. Hunted not until my college years. And that's kind of where my story kind of differs from a lot of guys. I didn't grow up hunting. I started after high school, kind of recognized my passion for it in those first couple of years of college. And really wasn't introduced to it until a good friend of mine kind of got me into it. And he's kind of the reason that I started hunting. And eventually I sat down the rifle and decided to pick up a bow. And kind of a dumb decision from I want to be successful standpoint. But not only did I pick up a bow, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start filming hunts, and I'm going to capture it all on film. So as if it couldn't already get hard enough, just as a bow hunter, I decided that I'm going to do it the harder way and try to do it all on film. And so I started hunting with some buddies, filming all the time. Never was really very, very good with whitetail. I'm still not, and I joke about it all the time. That's why I quit. No, I didn't really quit. I still hunt whitetail. I still go home every year and put some meat in the freezer, and I still love it. It's just my passions have kind of grown and expanded out west. So it's kind of where I'm at now. Like I said, I'm a business owner, so trying to get that off the ground and been really busy with that and full-time work out here. I don't plan on staying in California, for a long time. I know I get a lot of stuff from my buddies back home about being a California boy now, but don't plan on staying too long. I'll, experience some stuff out here, have some fun and make some money working, and then I'll either venture to another western state where I can hunt or come back home.
We will be right back after this short break. Fourth Arrow Camera Arms. The shoulder mount design allows the hunter flexibility on picking a tree. No more plumb, straight up and down trees. It doesn't matter which direction you ratchet the tree base, the shoulder mount allows you to level the camera arm, making for the smoothest and simplest camera arm system in the market. Go to fourtharrowcameraarms.com and get yours today. So you say you're a business owner. I know the business is Built to Hunt. What is that? What does Built to Hunt mean, and where did it come from?
Yeah, so just for starters, it's built to the number 2 hunt.com. It started really as just an apparel brand that I came up with and started. Really, it was just meant to be kind of a creative outlet for really my 2 biggest passions, which a lot of you guys know are hunting and fitness. So started with that. It was really just something I wanted people to resonate with and be proud to wear. And kind of along the way, just getting started, I met my partner, Jeff, and he had this idea for a platform that he wanted to bring to the hunting and fitness industry. And we talked for a while, kind of bounced some ideas off each other. He kind of let me know what he had in mind, and I kind of gave him an idea of where I saw my business going. So we ended up partnering up, and we worked for a few months through development and everything, and had some help along the way, and put a lot of hours in, and we just recently launched our website, builttohunt.com. So really, with this website, what we were going for, besides the branded apparel and the gear that's actually for the brand, the other thing that we're really going for is we're kind of trying to model really the bodybuilding.com business model. So with that, really, we wanted a one-stop shop for basically all things hunting and fitness. So, there's all these kind of new companies kind of arising with supplements in the outdoor industry, these athletic trainers in the outdoor industry, and these train to hunt programs and things like that. We just wanted to have a place where, people don't have to seek these all out separately. They can just come to one place and have it all right in front of them, and be able to compare those supplements side by side, with prices and ingredients and what those companies stand for side by side. And the same thing with the training. And not only that, but just any kind of hunting and fitness knowledge or information or content. So, video content, we have tons of articles from users. So users can submit their own stories about fitness or hunting journeys that they want to share. We're going to come out with a YouTube side of things and kind of do some filmed hunts and some video content there. We're getting that ramped up right now. And then, besides that, we also partnered with the Sportsman Alliance. So some people don't know what Sportsman Alliance is. A lot of you will recognize it. But basically, a portion of our proceeds of every order goes to the Sportsman Alliance to help with new hunter recruitment programs and fighting for conservation in public lands and our rights as hunters. I think that's most of what we got going on with Built to Hunt. There's an outfitter portal that I forgot to mention. We're going to have basically a library of outfitters across the country. You'll be able to go in, search state by state for outfitters. We'll run a free service for them where we do some promotional stuff, and they'll have access to discounts with our brand partners and that sort of thing. And we'll put a page for them on the website for their outfitting business. So really, we just want to try to connect as many of these dots together and put everything all in one place for people that are passionate about hunting and fitness.
Yeah, and one thing you said that I think is a really good idea is the way to compare the supplements that you have. Some people may not know or, have the background that we do in fitness and know exactly what they want. They may go into it, a little blind per se. But like you've said before and you've told me is that, being a hunter, you want to promote and help other hunting companies. And this is one way to do that is that the supplements and the stuff you guys have on your website are companies that focus towards the hunting industry. And this is just, like you said, one way to bring everything together, which is really awesome. The
go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
Man, I was just going to say, honestly, even like I went in and just ordered recently myself from the website, going in and just being able to put two or three supplement companies together because I was really looking for some good protein that was kind of all natural, didn't have a lot of additives, and there was a couple keto options that I looked at, some grass-fed whey from Dark Mountain. There's just a bunch of different options that I was able to just pull up right there and kind of look at the ingredient list, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this one. So slowly but surely, I'll go through and I'll try some of these brands for myself, and we're going to try to stack up some reviews and give people the information they need to make some decisions. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Definitely reviews. I mean, anybody who gets on there needs to, do a review. Let it be good, bad, indifferent. It's always nice to hear back because being able to get critique, both good and bad is, part of it, and it'll only help you as a business. Also, something you said that, interests us and me and here is the Sportsman Alliance. You said that a portion of your proceeds go towards that company. Well, we kind of do the same thing. We do a portion of our proceeds goes to Freedom Fighter Outdoors, which is a company, out of Florida that we hooked up with. And, they take guys who are wounded veterans or veterans just in general who want to be a part of the outdoors, and they do, hunts, but they do a lot of fishing stuff, which is, nice. They take them out on the ocean, and Captain Vinny is awesome. He's amazing. Great guy, great family, and I totally love the fact that you guys give back to Sportsman's Alliance.
Yeah, and I listened to your first episode, your intro episode. And I heard you guys, talk about the legacy that you guys want to leave with youth hunters and things like that, and that's a really good deal. And that's what we need, because really there's a kind of a massive misconception that there's this large influx of hunters coming into the hunting industry, and really that's not the case, because we have such a large group of baby boomers who are, those guys that have been hunting for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Those guys are aging out. There's less and less in kind of the Gen X and the millennial group that hunt and are out there contributing to conservation dollars and public lands and all these different programs. So really, we just wanted to find a way that we could give back to that. And we want to try to encourage and bring awareness to the fact that there is a problem, that's foreseeable that could come if we don't start recruiting new hunters into the hunting industry. So one of the things we're doing is we're taking a new hunter out in November to Idaho, and we've got some access to some cow tags, and we're going to take a new hunter out into the backcountry of Idaho, and we're going to try to harvest a cow and film that hunt. And that's going to be kind of a partnership with the Sportsman Alliance and some other companies. So try to just bring awareness, in ways like that. Just kind of think outside the box and just put that in front of people's faces and get them to kind of realize that, hey, we need to reach out to people that don't hunt, try to help them understand why we do what we do and why we love it, and why, it's something that we do want to pass down to other generations.
We will be right back after this short break. Built to Hunt is your one-stop shop for all things hunting and fitness. Your top resource for outdoor supplements, backcountry meals, fitness accessories, training plans, nutritional content, and more. Compare all the best outdoor brands side by side and let Built to Hunt help you bridge the gap from athlete to hunter. One of my buddies, Mike Attebery, is one of the two owners of Built to Hunt, and if you know him, you know they are only going to have the best. Head on over to built2hunt.com, BUILT, the number 2, HUNT.com, and check out what they got, and use code BMO10 and get an additional 10% off your first order. Yeah, it's pretty awesome that you are taking somebody's man, woman, who it may be, to take them out to hunt, that may not have gone before or may not have had the opportunity before. Again, that's one of the things we like to do, or we're trying to do at Big Muddie, is we want to pass not only the passion to the youth or the next generation, but to anyone who's willing to, listen, who wants to do it. Because it doesn't matter the age when you start. It's still, a passion. You don't have to be 9 taking the hunter safeties course and, kill your first deer or kill your first squirrel, shoot your shotgun when you're 10. You don't have to be that, You can be, 21, 20 when you were, what was it?
I think I was 19 or 20. Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but I think I was 19 or 20.
Yeah, so it's a perfect example of what could happen from getting someone involved in the outdoors. You went from, focusing mainly on sports, which is just fine, and not having that as part of your life in your younger, your teens and your single-digit ages, but now, say it's your life almost, besides work.
Yeah, it really is, man. Like, after sports, after college football, after, all of that, really, I think this is a problem that a lot of other athletes face too, and it's why I think they'll resonate with the brand, is because a lot of people do turn to hunting, and it's like their thing from that point forward. Whether you're pursuing a career in it or it's your number one hobby, it just kind of takes over as that one thing that you have, where you can have an outlet for any kind of competitive nature you have, or any kind of physical endeavor that you want to pursue, or something challenging.
that's what hunting does. I mean, hunting pushes you to not only better yourself, but just to better, like you said, yourself physically, especially out there in the West, doing, those elk hunts, those mule deer hunts. I know it's crazy terrain out there, but, hunting, pushes anybody who wants to do it to their limits, and yeah, go ahead. No, I mean, I was just going to say there's many outlets for it too. I mean, it leads, with archery. Like you and I are big archers. You could do 3D shooting. That's just another competition. You can, go to, if you're into rifle, if you're into shotgun, there's clays, there's, target, there's shooting competitions. I mean, what it opens up is so many different avenues, like you were talking about, your competitive edge, that competitiveness. You don't have to be actually hunting to, because this opens up so many other doors.
If it wasn't for me having somebody, a good friend that reached out to me and was able to take me out there and show me the things that, his dad had taught him growing up as a hunter, I wouldn't be a bow hunter. And it's mind blowing to me because I feel like that's my purpose. Like I feel like I'm that connected to it. I feel like when I'm out there, I'm like, man, this is the one thing that I feel like I could do forever.
Yeah. And I totally understand exactly what you're saying, because I've said it before and I'll say it 1,000 times more if I need to. It is not the same for me to pick up a gun and shoot a deer than it is for me to pick up a compound bow and shoot a deer. It is just not the same. There's just no comparable.
And there's nothing wrong with guys that rifle hunt. It's just, I don't know. I have a weird thing for, I guess, picking the most challenging thing I can find.
Hey, you got to push yourself, right?
Yeah. And it just takes one good person that could kind of be a mentor or just be a friend out there and introduce you to hunting. So that's why we reach out and do our best to talk to people about hunting and answer their questions and, try to educate them on, not only how to do it, but how to do it respectfully so that, people who don't hunt, because we're always going to have those people. Those people are always going to make decisions. They're always going to have a vote. We need to do our best to represent what we do in a respectful manner and educate people. So. Yep.
Totally agree. You talk about who took you hunting. I don't know if it's one of the team members, but I know you said you were affiliated with Infinity Outdoors. That's a good group of guys there in Kansas, and you guys went to Utah, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Myself, Caleb Barnhill, Trent Squires, and Dakota Thurn. We went out for our second year in a row. Man, it was a blast. I love it out there. If I could shack up in a cabin in the Utah mountains, I would do it in a heartbeat. But, yeah, I mean, it was a blast. If you could get out there one of these days, you should definitely give it a go. We went to central Utah. We found a good unit a couple of years ago where we can draw with minimal points. So, you can go almost every year, draw, 0 or 1 points. It's not a trophy unit by any means, but there's a lot of good opportunity if you can dig for it. And this year, that's exactly what we did. We kind of started out in some territory that was familiar to us, kind of where we had killed last year. I think I told you the story, but we were sitting on a ridge, probably the second or third day, and eating lunch, just kind of hanging out, joking around. And I was just kind of spotting for fun, just looking at some adjacent mountains and just way off in the distance, just looking at stupid far stuff. So I spotted up a deer in the spotting scope, way off, probably like 2 or 3 miles. And I was like, man, there's a deer. And the guy's like, holy cow, how'd you see that? Like, I have no idea, but that's a deer. I was like, oh, it's a buck. And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, it's a good buck. It's a shooter. I was like, it might be a shooter, guys. We need to get over there. So, I mean, he looked good. And when a deer looks good from like 3 miles away, that he's got to be something of interest. So we decided, we were like, it was early. It was late, but it was early enough in the day where we could get over there, and that's what we did. So we got over there that night. We didn't get him spotted up. He went into the woods just before dark. Just before we got there, probably less than 10, 15 minutes before we got there, he made his way into the woods, and we ended up hunting that same basin. And probably day 3 or 4, I spotted up a really good deer. He wasn't a giant. He's not a Jason Carter giant or something, that's going to be in a record book. But for me, when, a guy that comes from Missouri and is used to whitetail that are, 140, 150 inches. When you see a mule deer that's 170, 180 class mule deer, you get pretty excited. So
I could only imagine. And
yeah, you can imagine.
you got to be, at the same time, you got to think each trophy is different for each person.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that's what people's got to understand is, maybe you shoot that 160, 170 inch muley, but that's life changer for you. Maybe it's not for somebody else, but for you it is. And each person, that's what they need to understand is that each person has their own trophy. Don't downgrade somebody because it may not be as big as yours. Maybe that's the biggest they've ever seen. Maybe that's the biggest they get,
Yeah, it's going to come down to your experience and your preference. And honestly, my goal going out there is I just wanted to try to get a mature buck that was bigger than the one I shot the year before. And the one I shot the year before, he was a mature deer, but he was still young. He was probably 3 or 4 years old, right around 140 inches, wasn't real big. But going out your first year, that was a trophy for me. And it was probably the most, rewarding experience I've ever had. So when I saw that 180, that 170, I was like, we're going after him. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer for us, especially, the more experience you get, the bigger bucks you're going to pass on. But we went after him and didn't make it happen, but got so close, made a great stalk. We took a crevice to get down to the bottom of the basin, and you should have seen me running through there. It was like I was doing parkour. Just jumping rock to rock and like trying to get down there before he got out of his bed and before it got too dark. And we ended up getting there just before or just after he had gotten up out of his bed and started feeding. So we were kind of unaware of that. The guys were up top spotting for us, so they knew it, but we didn't know it. And me and Trent snuck in. We made a good stalk. There was a storm rolling in at the same time. It was crazy. It was just such a crazy scene. We got really close. We snuck up the tree line, kind of figured out where his bed was and that he wasn't in his bed anymore. And he had gotten up. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to walk up this tree line. I'm going to peek down the end of it and just make sure that he's not up here. And it proved to be a good decision because we ended up finding him at like 50 yards, just completely oblivious to the fact that we were there, just watching this big rack just shake around while he's feeding next, on some short aspens. And the one thing that kind of screwed us was he had a spike with him, and the spike had us pinned like right away. He was on our wind. I don't know if it swirled or what, but he knew we were there, and we had to just back down that tree line. And I think eventually that spike's nerves kind of caught wind to that bigger buck, and he understood that there was something going on. He actually made his way back down the same way that we did, only on the other side of this thin little tree line. So I peeked my head through this gap about halfway down, and sure enough, he was standing broadside in the middle of this gap, looking our way. And I told Trent, I'm like, Trent, he's right there. I was like, man, he's at 67 yards. I ranged him. I was like, I set my pin to 62. I was like, dude, I'm going to step under this limb. I'm going to be about 3 or 4 yards closer, and I'm going to shoot. So get ready, start filming. He started filming. I went to duck under that limb and come up and draw. And just before my draw cycle, he had enough of standing there wondering what was on the other side, and he just bounded off with the doe. So it was really heartbreaking, but man, looking back on it, I mean, even Trent, he talked about it. He was like, man, that was the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. It was like a picture perfect, just stalk with this crazy storm rolling in the evening and this giant buck, and just seeing that deer across from us in that gap and just seeing how wide and tall he was and just being that close to him. It turned this obsession switch on in me. And I was just blown away and just like obsessed with finding a good deer like that the rest of the trip we were there. So didn't pan out. We had some other good stalks on deer, and even the last night we got really, really close and got winded on some deer that it's kind of skirted us and ended up in a small patch of aspens and winded us. And we were 20 yards from them at dusk. And if they had stayed out in the open, we could have made it happen possibly, but just a bunch of experience, man. No tag, no deer in the freezer, no deer on the wall, but it was a heck of a ride and a lot of experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about, right? The experience, those memories, because that's like you said, like Trent said, you had said, it's something that he'll remember, it's something you'll remember,
Oh, absolutely.
and it's a learning experience for everybody that was involved. Even though it may not have ended with a harvest, you still learned a lot for the next time you guys go.
Yeah, man, that was the one thing that I just felt the whole way going home. Just since I've been back is just I didn't get that deer, but I feel like I gained like 5 years of experience in that hunt just because we had so many deer that we watched, so many good bucks that we spotted, so many stalks that were so close. Things could have just easily gone the other way, and we could have a really, really good deer on the wall and in the freezer, but doesn't pan out. But that's just hunting, man. And you can read as much as you want. You can watch and listen to all these podcasts. You can watch videos. You can take in as much content from other people. But really, the only way to really get that experience that these expert, hunters have, quote unquote experts, whatever you want to call them, these guys that are really successful, is to just be out there gaining that experience every year.
Nothing's better than the real thing.
No, there's no substitute for it.
No, you just got to get out there, put your face in it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is people, shouldn't be discouraged if they're not experienced because, going to Utah, I didn't have any experience. I just started looking stuff up, figuring out what I had to do. I talked to people that did already do it or kind of knew what they were doing and just got an idea and started putting the pieces together and just actually making it happen so I could really go out there and not just talk about it. I think that's a big thing is just getting out there, getting boots on the ground and making it happen. And eventually those pieces will start to come together. One of these days we'll be sitting here talking about how many 180 class bucks that we passed on last week.
Yeah. I hope so, man. I hope so. That'd be awesome.
Me too.
But like you said, it just takes time, takes experience. Each hunt is an experience.
Yeah, it really is, man. And I don't know, man. I love all hunting. I wish I could come back and shoot a 170 class whitetail off my farm, but I'm just no dang good at it. So you're gonna have to teach me something, or you're gonna have to help me out because I know. I've seen some pictures. You guys got a hit lister.
Yeah, we got a couple. But
didn't you guys have good ones last year?
It was 2 years ago during bow season. Yeah, we actually Poe got the hit lister, Twin Towers, and then I got a nice 10-pointer.
Yeah, I remember seeing pictures of those guys.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is a lot of people, even though we have private land, we hunt a lot of public. I don't know if people know that or not. We hunt a lot of public land. So we take on those challenges of hunting public, not being able to put, food plots where you may want or, minerals where you want or exactly all that stuff. So we get the concept of public hunting and we like the challenge of public hunting. Not only is there other hunters that hunt it, but we like to take the challenge of getting somewhere where no one goes because that's where they are. They're in the areas that no one else wants to go to if you really want to find the big dogs.
I think, I've seen guys do it. I've heard of guys doing it, but there's got to be some big giants, hiding in that public land. They just know where to go when things are sketchy.
That's exactly right. They know. They start sensing, the pressure. They are deer. They're not the most intelligent, but they know their survival tactics, and they push back. And if they don't have to, they're not going to leave an area if they don't need to. If there's food, water, and a nice bedding area, they ain't going to go nowhere. There's no need to.
Yeah, I know we were talking before. Didn't you say something about how big of an impact the crops play and when they harvest the crops every year, and how that changes your guys' hunting strategy altogether?
Yeah, and we talked to is like you're saying with the crops here, it's a big deal. That's why each area is just different. Everywhere you go is going to be a little bit different. Here where we hunt's the bottom land of the river, and it's just flat. It's flat. You can literally see miles and miles.
It's like West Kansas, Missouri.
Exactly. And so like right now we have cameras out almost year round, and we'll see deer, but we know that it's not exactly what's going to happen come deer season because the crops are still in. And right now the corn's getting taken out and the beans will follow in a few weeks. And then those deer get pushed to the tree lines, the levees, the timbers, and it becomes more regular patterns until rut hits, which is nice because it allows us to hunt them much easier. When the crops are in, you're talking 200-acre fields, 800-acre fields of just full corn. They can just wander in there, and who knows if they'll ever come out. The only time they need to come out is if they're going to get something to drink. So that's where, we kind of have two phases in our deer season, is early season, and then we kind of readjust to what we see on cameras once the crops are out.
Right, and then the rut rolls in and kind of makes everything
then it just goes crazy, and you just watch it run around.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't experienced is the western rut hunt yet. So
yeah,
I really like being able to go out there and get those deer when they're still in those early season patterns. It's really fun for me just being able to spot them and watch them, and they're going to be doing the same thing for a few more weeks until things get kind of hectic. So
yep.
It's a lot of fun for me, man.
Yep. Well, we'll come to an end, but what? Moving forward, as we talked about, passing on the passion, passing it to the youth, passing it on to anyone who may not be a hunter at this point or is just getting to it. What advice would you give a newbie per se to the hunting industry, even though we don't like to call them that, somebody who's new to the hunting industry or someone who's young who may be coming into it? What advice would you give someone like that?
Yeah, so man, I wouldn't give like one specific piece of advice, but what I would say is, for somebody that wants to take on the challenge of hunting or bow hunting or whatever it is, anybody can. You may not be born, with money or with, 1,000-acre farm in Iowa or, a family who goes to outfitters all the time or whatever it is, just any kind of connections like that. You don't have to be born into a hunting family. You don't have to have money. Just if anybody can develop the knowledge and the skills that it takes to become a successful hunter. So if they just have the willingness to work hard and that work ethic it takes to get through those, those hiccups and those moments of failure that you experience they're unavoidable. We're going to experience failure as a hunter, and it's going to humble you. It's the most humbling sport on the planet. There's nothing like it. So if you like a challenge, if you're willing to adapt and overcome those challenges and just be willing to take in knowledge from others and develop the skills and the physical fitness and the mental capacity and the sound, strong mind, anybody can do great things in the hunting industry. So that's kind of really a lot of the reason I kind of started the brand, because the idea was you're not born to hunt. Me personally, I'm built to hunt. I've built the skills. I've built the knowledge. I'm building it constantly to be better and better. I think anybody that wants to take on the challenge of hunting, if they can just kind of adapt, pick up that attitude and respect the hunting, they can be successful.
Yeah, like you said, failures, again, it's going to happen. It's bow hunting. There's always the human factor, and you're going to miss. I mean, if you haven't missed, then I call you a liar, and I've said that before. I said, if you tell me you've never missed, I'll call you a liar, because everyone's missed. And that's part of it. Like you said, it's almost inevitable that you're going to miss in those pressure situations because there's just so much involved. It's not only, the compound bow and the deer, it's you, and it's the practice it took to, get that bow set up properly. And like you said, the physical fitness, just to be able to pull back the bow and then hold it, because sometimes you may hold that bow for minutes. And, holding back 20 pounds, even though there's 80, 70% let off these days, it's still fatigue.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to say? I just had a really good thought, man.
Don't you love that? Don't you love it when you just have the perfect thing and then it just goes away?
I know what I was going to say. It wasn't for the failures, and it wasn't for those blown stocks and those deer that get away and those really hard times when we're hunting and, just any kind of crappy situations that we go through. If it wasn't for those, we wouldn't love it as much and it wouldn't be rewarding.
Yeah. You're totally right. And you said humble, and you're right, because it is humbling, because it pushes you to strive even after complete fail. Because when you miss a deer or you miss an elk or you miss anything, that is, in essence, the failure, because you've done all this training, all this practice, and you have your opportunity to succeed and you miss. But what do we have to do? We got to go. We got to practice more. We got to get ready for the next one, because it could just be right around the corner.
Yeah, it's part of the process, and you got to be willing to take those hard times and those failures, and you're going to eventually be successful. So that's why I love it so much, and that's why I'm going to keep doing it. And I don't think I'll ever consider myself a really, really successful hunter until I'm probably done doing it, because part of it is just being a provider and bringing meat home, and that's a constant process that's it's never going to end. So
fill that freezer, right?
It's a huge part of it. People think we just everybody just wants the trophy hunt, but really that's not where my heart's at. I know that's not where your guys' heart's at all the time. We like to do that, but it's not what it's about all the time. It's both.
Yeah, because people don't understand just how much meat you can get off of a mature doe or a mature buck. I mean, it's crazy the amount of protein that's in that.
Exactly, and you don't have to worry about where your food comes from. It's clean, it's organic, it's full of protein. If I can get away with not buying beef all year, that's great. I don't mind at all, and I haven't got out to chase the elk and put an elk in the freezer, but I want to really, really soon. So
yeah, I've heard that. I heard elk meat's real good.
Yeah. I've had it. I just haven't had any really good elk steaks yet, so I'm waiting on that.
Yeah. So, just want to say thank you for not, taking the time, going through this process with me, and being number one. You're the first one, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. I'd love to talk to you more. We could talk all day long. I know it's 8:30 here, it's 6:30 there, and I know we could talk till midnight if we just would. But I got to keep these to a certain time limit. Yeah,
and this is a good testament to going through a process and figuring out learning how it works.
Yeah, I know, and I used you kind of as a dummy. The first one as I was learning. This is my first time doing it, so I appreciate that. Being willing to not only do it once but maybe 3 times.
Yeah, anytime, man. Have me back on, and we'll hopefully we'll talk about some kind of big animals we've.
I hope so. So, before we leave, let the people know, where can they, find you, find Built to Hunt? What's the best way?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Instagram. I don't really use Facebook much or any of the other ones. I'm not on Twitter. Just my handle is @_a_Berry, Attebery.huntfit. And then Built to Hunt is just @Built2Hunt. Make sure it's the number 2. It's Built, the number 2, and then Hunt Co. On Instagram, and then Built2Hunt.com is the website. So you guys can go there if you have any kind of questions. Feel free to send me a DM. My partner's name is Jeff Moran. He's a Relentless Hunter. I think it's _208. But you can find either of us on Instagram, or just send us a DM to the website. And we're actually right now for September, we're doing free shipping on all supplements. We're giving away a free shaker bottle of supplement orders, and then anybody who wants to order any kind of gear, supplements, any kind of products from the website, you can use the code HUNTSEPTEMBER for 15% off. That's it, man. I appreciate you having me on.
No, man, we appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. See you, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. See you, bud.
What a great guy. What a great interview. Man, can't wait to have him back on the podcast. Up for next week. Again, you'll have an update on what happens this weekend. Hopefully we get us some meat in the freezer. And also, we'll have Sam Schaefer with TAP Titanium Archery Products on with an interview with him to learn more about TAP and learn more about Sam. This podcast was brought to you by Big Muddie Outdoors. Make sure and like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next week.